like Miami. Miami, 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 Miami. It feels like Miami.
Welcome to the EP Podcast. I'm your host, Giancarlo Navas, and with me today, on the left here, reality check master Tiffany Meeks.
Hey, what's up?
How we doing?
You doing?
We decent. You know, we're doing better than other people. We'll get into them in a second. On the right, we have the great Siobhan Beslow. How are you, Siobhan?
What's up? I'm good. Hello, people. What's up, chat? Tiff, G. Happy, what's today?
What's up,
Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Shout out to chat. We love chat around here. We were just talking before. We love you guys. You guys are funny. You guys, truly bring joy in sometimes what is a negative fan experience. You guys bring it all the time. Chat sending hearts and shit. We love you guys. Shout out to Blue Wire, the parent network. Thank you to everybody on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, please. I beg you. Get our sub numbers up. If you're on Twitch, you can subscribe with Prime for free. And if you are so kind to just give us a subscription altogether, we love and appreciate that. And we love you guys. Somebody said Giancarlo apologized to Tua right now. Good job, Dolphins. They got one. They got their man. I think he played well. I don't watch much football, so good for them.
G, apologize to Justin Fields.
Who's Justin
Did they?
Fields?
Oh, they did win that game the other night.
So apologies to Justin Fields. Is he the Bears quarterback?
I was like, he doesn't
Yes.
even know who he's talking to.
I know. I just joined in.
I don't know. I mean, I watched a bunch of football this weekend with a bunch of people who like football, and I didn't know who any of these good players were. And I was like, is Adrian Peterson still in the league? And they're like, no.
Oh,
I was like, he was a long time ago. And then they're like, he's canceled. And I go, oh, wow,
I was like,
okay.
is he problematic right now?
Yeah, he's canceled.
he's
I didn't know.
problematic.
I
Yeah,
didn't know
G.
he was canceled. I don't know. I know Aaron Rodgers is canceled.
yeah.
Fuck him, right, Tiff? Fuck the Packers.
Fuck Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, fuck Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron.
Let's move on to teams that are, maybe feeling similarly to Aaron Rodgers today, underperforming.
Oh.
What's like the Packers? Miami is 1-4. Their one win was a throttling of Toronto, which turned into a tighter game than it should have been, which was concerning for a lot of reasons. Obviously those back-to-backs I think are tough against the same team. A good coach gets time to adjust. Obviously, smart players. You put yourself in an 0-2 hole. It's not fun. Obviously, the schedule's been tough. Boston, Toronto twice. Those are not easy teams. However you feel about the Bulls is one thing. Did I missay the record? They're 1-3. Did I say 1-4? 1-3. I have us losing tomorrow apparently. So let's start at the top with I think the big story, which really is Bam and Jimmy. While on the court, Tiff, they're really, really good. And when they sit, they're not good. And that's really funny because I feel like that's outside of last season, that's really been the story of this kind of collective group.
Right.
And when they brought Lowry in, that was supposed to change. And last year it did. And it just hasn't this year. Tiff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the funniest thing is that obviously you got to stagger them. Like, this is it for now. Like, one of them has to be on the court at all times. Which is sad, but this is where you are right now, especially with you got a couple of people injured. You still got people who are playing out of position, who are still learning on the fly. And at some point, you hope to see like these young guys, Nicky Slim and Little Daddy Kane, get a shot. So you're going to need either Bam or Jimmy on the court with these guys. Like, this is just where we are right now. The reality is you came into this season and you hope that Jimmy would be able to play less minutes. That hasn't happened yet. And there was a whole thing about Jimmy not getting back into the game, being at the scorers table and all these things. Doesn't matter. Like we can point blame at all these other things, but the game was lost on the court, not because Jimmy was standing on the sidelines. And truth be told,
Get into it.
he played, and he was he averaging 35, 36. Like he's up there. So, not gonna lie, I didn't feel bad that he wasn't in the game. He needs, like, he's going hard, and he's going harder than he should have to go. And we're only 4 games. We're what, 4 games deep? Like he's going way harder than needs to be. So there are some things rotationally that probably need to change. And truth be told, like it's easy to say it, but everybody just needs to do better. Like everybody needs to find what their comfort zone is, and they need to play within that comfort zone. We're asking too many people to play above their heads and do too many things um that was cute last year because we had an actual rotation happening. We don't have that right now.
Yeah.
So um while we expected Max and Gabe to make another little jump this season, they're technically not really in the same roles that they were in last year. So we're asking them to do a lot of things different too. And I think I said last night on Hangover Time, whereas it's interesting because I noticed everybody came out their face last night and said how piss poor of a game Max had. But actually Max was a plus defender last night. The problem is that when he's been a plus defender this season, his offense has fallen off. So he's not able to sustain it on both ends, it seems, which is expected because he seems to be carrying a heavier load this season so far through 4 games than he did last year because the defense was better. The defense was better from Jimmy. The defense was better from Kyle and on down the line. So Max was able to plug himself in and kind of, if it's not bending, don't break it. That kind of thing. As to now, they're looking at him and they're saying, you got to get stops. You got to stop this guy. And you know what? Now you got to guard Pascal. Now you got to come back down and guard Boucher. Now you got to come back down and guard. Like, we're asking guys to do a lot of things that technically we shouldn't be asking them to do. They should be able to play within themselves and within the offense.
So to the point earlier about the numbers, to kind of illustrate that and to kind of give it credence to everything that Tiff's saying, when Bam's on the court, they're +5 net rating. When he's off, they're -30, right? That's a 35-point swing. And that's just him alone. Jimmy, who Max is pretty much backing up at this point, well, Jimmy at this point, he's minus on the court. He's -1, but they're -17. Without him, you know what I mean? So
right.
That's the kind of stuff where that gets bad. Bond, what's going on there? Is it just their backups are bad, or is it a little deeper?
So I think it's a little bit deeper, and I echo pretty much everything that Tiff said, and it's so the guys who were our backups are now being asked to be brought more to the forefront, but there isn't anyone behind them backing them up. So it's like they're being asked to step forward and do a bit more without having. I've said it on Hot last night. Like the backfill for them is lacking, and so whereas the bench was the strength, and through a good portion of the season, even when everyone was healthy, like there were stretches throughout the season where the starters were above average and maybe not higher than the above average that you would kind of hope them to, but the bench came in and was kind of like obliterating people. And so now it's a lot of the bench guys, like I said, being kind of moved to the front and asked to do what they were asked to do last year, but also finding that they have to do more than to supplement the guys who we lost or who are out of position in the starting group. I think I as much as I kind of like to harp on it because it has to be the staple of this group, I think there's room for the defense to correct itself. There's room for the defense to tighten. There's room for precision to tighten back up. There's room for the attention to detail on the defensive end to sharpen. Um, it's annoying for me when it isn't, because that has to be the calling card of this group. The offense for me is a bit more problematic because, as Tiff said, this is who you have until you don't. And and you know, whether we want to say it or however it is that you want to feel about it, and it is not a knock on Tyler, but Tyler was a huge portion of the bench. And so when the starters were able to go out, it was him coming in, giving those relief, those quick bursts of scoring that you need. And then the Max and Caleb and Gabe were able to play with and kind of around that. My issue with, and I don't want to make, because it's not just a Tyler issue. Everyone else does need to heighten their level of play. As it stands right now, though, and kind of what I foresaw a little bit, because we didn't make any moves. We lost people, and we didn't do anything like tangibly, better, or we didn't bring anyone in. Vic isn't healthy, and that does play a really, really big part of it. If Vic were healthy, you'd be able to withstand some of what's lost from having Tyler on the bench, but you don't have that right now. And so what it is you have Tyler coming in as a starter. He's giving you the burst of scoring that he does. That's a train. I'm sorry. I might actually mute in a second. It's going to get loud. But so he's giving you that. He is still huntable. He's held his own. But while he's getting going, while your scorer is scoring, you should want to ride the hot hand. What I find now, at least what I think some of it is, it's taking some people out of rhythm. Like we're waiting too long for other people to get touches and to feel like a part of the offense. The game last night, you saw the energy picked up when the ball was moving, when more people were involved and it was livelier. And it's not a knock on him. Those are the type of things that you can withstand from a 6-man type of play. I'm not asking you to, when the 6-man comes in and then the rest of the bench comes in after him, it's this dude is running this, and like if he's on, kind of get it to him. With the starting group, it's a little bit different. At least I feel the way that you create kind of this like avalanche of momentum with your starters is you got to get everybody involved. Like it has to feel like, oh, we stopped this one dude, but now there's other two over here that have some juice to them too, and they don't have that consistently right now. So I think the defense has places. I think the defense can tighten, and I expect it to. But I am concerned a bit about how the offense is going to sustain itself with what the lineups are right now. Like when a couple years ago when Spo split Bam, or when he split Tyler and Duncan up, it was to give them more space so they weren't in each other's way. But then you had like the starters hooping, but then you also had the bench raised, and so you weren't getting these peaks and valleys of offensive production. It was at least able to be a steady drip, and you don't see that right now.
Yeah.
Tiff, were you going to add something to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and then the other issue that we have is, well, there's two things. One, I'd like to see them get Bam going early. I don't like when the games start and the first 7 shots are taken by the guards. I don't like that.
Is that a Kyle? You think that's like a Kyle responsibility to kind of help?
It is yes.
So.
I think that's a Kyle. Like I think you, because you've already said how much he means to them on defense. So you've got to help him out on offense. You've got to give him a reason to continue to be that guy on defense. And I think we start the game and too many possessions go by and he doesn't get the ball. And then I found that he gets the ball and it's in the worst positions.
Yeah. Or if it's a bunch of people and then he's play.
Right. And he's forced to take that fade away, or now he's looking for the handoff. I think you gotta get him going. But then I think the other side of it is Bam can't come off the floor. Like it's becoming an issue. Dedmon damn it, G. Dedmon hasn't been great. We know
That's
that.
an
He's not the
understatement.
reason why. Right. I'm trying to say it,
You're
he's
gonna
not the
keep it
reason
cute.
they're losing. He's the reason why they're behind most of the time, but he's not the reason they're losing.
Fair.
Any
Lost Tiff for a second. We'll get her back.
a whole nother issue. And that's the reason why I think if you are gonna ride Bam as hard as you are, you got to get that man involved in the offense. Like to me, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. We do a lot. We're doing a lot of pounding the ball and a lot of going nowhere.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you're gonna pound, then pound it and give Bam time to get in position to get a good shot.
One of the things that bothered me yesterday was I thought Herro in particular was getting like a Pascal switch and then was just ISOing a lot. And again, it's not to talk down on Tyler, who's had a really good scoring season, but it's possessions like that where it's like, is that really the best use of our offense? And a lot of that was in the second half. And it was kind of the inverse of the Celtic game where, it was the opposite, right? So in this way, they're getting into matchups on offense that are not fruitful for them. And then on defense in the Celtic game and in the Raptor game for that matter, they're letting guys pick on Tyler. They're not pre-switching. They're hedging a little too late in the games and stuff like that. So I feel like just generally that process has been a little wonky. I thought to the point for them as well. Jimmy didn't get you talk about getting Bam the ball at the beginning of the game. I thought Miami did a poor job of getting Jimmy the ball at the end of the game yesterday.
Very poor. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of that's on Jimmy and Tiffany. I think you were the one that told me that.
It is on them.
Well, I think one or both of you told me. It's like I mentioned in the chat. You're like, yeah, that's on Jimmy. But
that's on Jimmy.
It is.
But you got to somebody has to get Gary Trent in action, and you cannot let Toronto defend with OG Anunoby and Siakam on every stretch possession because that's what they want.
And then, like you said to Tyler, so Tyler, you're getting the Pascal switch, so you probably have one of the most not advantageous matchups right now. So
that is the worst matchup. That's a matchup
that is the
Toronto
worst
wants.
matchup.
Yeah, it is.
Exactly. So move it, fill that out. And Tiff, your point about getting Bam going, he's not a guard, so he's not going to have the ball in his hands. It has to be them kind of funneling it to him. You get him going, you keep him engaged, you get people in some early foul trouble. And it's a kind of, at least I feel a bit, or how I think about it, it's a credit to Tyler. Tyler's game with the proper matchups, he can get what he wants to get at kind of any stretch through the game. And so that's when that becomes extra cherries and sprinkles and extra body blows when the rest of the group has already kind of knocked you in the face a little bit.
Right. I think though, the one thing that we talked about towards, I guess it was at the end of the season, where it was going to be a struggle. We talked about that, and I remember you and I, Shy, we talked about how it's not going to look pretty, and we said that, and we said it numerous times, and the pushback was they're running it back. Why wouldn't it look good? They know each other.
Frankie said it
people forget. New position means new team.
Yeah.
Not necessarily new players. New position means new team because you're changing the genetic makeup of the team. And that's what they did. When Tyler is cooking, that boy is bad. There's no problem. He can get any shot on the floor when he is cooking. But the idea was that game was supposed to change when it was brought into the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Because him cooking isn't what's best for Bam and Jimmy.
It's like when you get a promotion.
That's the thing.
When you get a promotion, your job duties, you're with the same company, but your job, your role changes a bit.
Tiff, to that point, the Heat are minus 15 with Herro on the court and plus 17 with him off. And if you filter that for what it looks like when Jimmy and Bam don't have to play with Herro, they're plus 23. 137 offensive rating.
Yeah.
Exactly
because
to your
he
point.
brought his is he brought the 6-man game to the starting
And
lineup,
you
and
can't.
the
It doesn't.
starting lineup isn't built. They're
Yeah.
not built that way. If
Yep.
he was on a different team, it would probably work. But Jimmy's skill set, Bam's skill set, it doesn't suit what because they're not great shooters. They need to get in the post. They need to get in the mid. They like to cut. They like to slash. And he's out top doing his thing. So now
Yeah.
you got more people in the way. He's up top doing his thing. And then don't forget, we still got Caleb out there who I need him in the corner hitting those open threes.
Or
So there's a
cutting,
lot
offensive
still
But
trying,
rebounding.
Caleb's
or
a great
cutting.
cutter.
Right. But remember, there's no room for him
Right.
to be cutting
Jimmy does
because
that.
you have two people. Uh huh. Yeah, go ahead, G.
No, I was kind of like adding. No, I remember to play.
Yeah,
together.
so it's
Living.
so it to me it's like there's going to be a lot of growing pains to try to figure out how to organically make what Tyler can do at his best be beneficial to everyone else.
G,
Because that's the thing with the offense.
I don't know what you have open right now. Can you run like any lineups? What does Tyler look like without a Jimmy or Bam? Because one of
I
my
have that. You want it?
Yep.
Minus
yep.
86 in per 100 possessions, but it's only played 5 minutes, so it's not
Fair.
a lot.
Okay.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
but
Okay.
the
Okay.
the offense. I mean, I think the consistent theme with the Tyler lineups is that when he plays, the defense is really, really bad.
But we knew that.
But it's like
We kind of
it's
expected
worse
that.
than it was last year.
But but the thing is that like what you and everyone else said was, okay, we're going to flank him with really good defenders and it should make up for what's happening. But the
Nope.
problem is that we're not as good as we were last year defensive wise right now. Which, like we said, it should get better. We're hoping it gets better, and everybody slightly tightens up. Um, but I just think it's interesting how no one has noticed that he's playing the same game in the starting lineup,
Yeah.
and it doesn't benefit
Doesn't
the other
function
guys.
the same
I
way.
it doesn't function because I wanted to see him on the ball and maybe Kyle off ball.
Mhm.
But the problem is, with that being said, the ball isn't popping. It's sticking.
I want to.
Right. It does no point. It does no good if he's on ball
Yeah.
and not moving it though.
So something
Yeah.
interesting is Herro. So Jimmy, Bam, and Lowry together, without Herro on the floor, they have a 95 defensive rating, which is like incredible. Just Lowry, Bam, and Jimmy together, the three of them. Not filtering out here the Herro's there or not. 103 defensive rating, which is very, very good. So like their three cornerstone pieces, when they're on the court together, the defense has been good. It's a lot of Tyler getting hunted. I think what you said, Max having to either do offense or defense, not both.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Duncan's getting minutes again, and it's been uneven on that end. It's a lot of Duncan stuff. And obviously, I think Highsmith has been an unmitigated disaster along with Dedmon. So, Caleb missed a game, which that guy can't miss a game because look what happens. So stuff like
How
that.
did we get here to where Caleb Martin can't miss a game?
It is. I mean, but we knew that this going into the season, and I want to stress, at least from my perspective, I didn't like any of the moves that were available in the offseason. I was totally fine with them kind of waiting for a trade during the season. Whether you agree with that or not is fine. I think that there are, legitimate arguments on both sides. We knew this. This is not new. Obviously, not seeing Jovic out there is kind of weird considering he looked good in the preseason, and I can't imagine it's going to be worse than Highsmith. The Jovic thing with me, I want to get into the guards more, but real quick, Tiff, I don't know if you agree or Bon. If they play Jovic, I want to see him a little bit at the 5. Maybe that could be I think the backup 5 is the more pressing thing because you can fill 4 minutes by committee. 5 minutes, it's a little more difficult. So if Jovic if they can downsize and Jovic looks good at the 5 and can play a little 4 with Bam, I think that is really the first big step to stabilizing their rotation.
Yeah. We were in the space.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead,
agree.
Tiff.
No,
We
I agree. I agree 100%.
we were in the space, right? And Tiffany was talking about how they're not committing to either like a traditional lineup or to a small ball lineup. And I built on that a bit with like we're playing the 1 through 3 spot, like we're playing the guards as a small ball lineup with the second unit, but we're still trotting out like a traditional center and a deadman who the two like the styles don't mesh or aren't meshing right now. And so I know a lot of people are saying, I'm tired of the small ball stuff from Spo. But to Tiff's credit and to her point, like she said on Saturday, they're not even actually committing all the way to the small ball lineup, at least in the second unit. You put Jovic out there and you have you're quicker, you're younger. And if nothing else, if he's not giving you production, then you're at least getting on the job training for a dude who you should want to keep in your system and want to keep in your pipeline. But and even beyond just some on the job training stuff, I think he gives them a good amount of something to where he's worth exploring. He's long enough to where he can help plug holes, but not really need much of his own plugs or much of his own holes plugged. The thing I saw a stat earlier about like Tyler being one of the like top 5 ISO guys, and I feel like I would maybe want ISO defender guys, and maybe I would want to look at some of that myself. But like he's holding his own, but the rest of the group is so overreactive, and I don't even want to say overreactive. It's probably like an adequate amount of reaction and attention. Like we're doing so much digging and trying to help him, and teams are swinging it. We're getting lost in rotation. Guys are cutting behind us. And so I don't understand, the 1 game suspension, whatever. Going forward, I don't think that there's any reason to not at least give Jovic some looks. You drafted him, play well for you in preseason. And so at the bare minimum, it can't be worse than what it is right now. It's only up.
Right,
like,
exactly.
We at the floor. Like, it's only up.
The floor is lava, and we're at the lava.
The floor.
We like standing on 2, like the lava is flowing through a crevice, and we got legs spread wide as hell, trying not to like fall.
And Jimmy and Bam are legs spread, holding up everyone else.
Holding up this big ass body, just ready to.
It's ridiculous. So I think that tells really the story of the season, and I'd be remiss to not mention Lowry because obviously my man's getting cooked. I was at the game yesterday. I brought some friends from out of town, and I was like, this motherfucker is embarrassing me in front of my friends. God, he played so bad. And I think there's a couple things we need to remember. He came off a hamstring injury, and it's the beginning of the season, and he's 36 years old. The first part of the season was always going to be the roughest. That I think more than anything, I think it's important to have that perspective. Not that it doesn't change the performance on the floor, but I think it does color some of it. The problem with his play, because we talked a lot about the wings and the bigs as backups. His play, obviously, his bad play hasn't been super reflective in lineup data right now because Jimmy is playing really well, and so is Bam. Jimmy's particularly playing really, really well.
Jimmy's playing really well.
And Tyler's scoring very, very well. And Bam's played very, very well. Maybe not to the potential on offense that we want, but Bam's playing very, very well. The 3 of them are playing really well, and Kyle can kind of skate right now by just being poo-poo stinky, as a shooter and everything. But when Jimmy, not that they're falling to earth for Jimmy, but Jimmy's not going to be, this 28-point scorer for 82. That's not going to happen. And he's going to, sometimes he'll have 17. Sometimes he'll have 12. And then someday he'll have 32. That's just the Jimmy Butler that we know. And during those stretches, Kyle's lack of kind of offensive, I don't even know what to call it, impact is where I think we'd feel it most, because once some guys run out of gas, you need people to step up, and next man up is Kyle. And I don't think he's been he had the really bad first game, and I thought he wasn't good the last game, but he was fine the middle two, but obviously fine isn't good enough. You know what I mean? I don't think he deserves all you people being, the way you are, but that's how fandom works. Some guys like, I'm done. I'm done with 7. It's been 4 games and he was good last year. You know what I mean? Like,
the way you are is hilarious.
huh?
Right.
Y'all are y'all. But yeah, I don't know. That's where I am. Like, and of course, like, I like him. Like, I'm not gonna hide. I'm obviously gonna be more lenient with him. I obviously look at a guy that has a history of being a winner, who was really good last year until he got hurt in the hamstring, which was a sensitive injury. And, he kept them afloat when when everybody got hurt and all that stuff, and blah, blah. But I think he has to play better. I think what you guys have said is getting guys involved. The assist numbers have been actually kind of jarring. He had the comments today about wanting the ball more in his hands. I do want to read the full quote because that was taken out of context, and I think everybody kind of just burned him at the stake without the context. So the full context from Anthony Chang's quote is, "I probably could have the ball a little bit longer, keep the ball in my hands a little bit more. That could help," Lowry said when asked how he can generate more shots for himself. So that part is important. "But I'm an unselfish player, so sometimes it's called for you to get kind of off the ball and let the game come to you," which Tiff has been clamoring for.
I just want to point out that was part of the tweet. Like, the original tweet that I saw, it had in there how he can get himself going more. If there's people taking it out of that context, which was, again, in the original tweet that I saw, and just saying that Kyle is like, "Oh, put the ball in my hands more."
The viral one did not have that. It said Kyle Lowry wants the ball in his hands more to generate more shots for himself. Then the quote, "I could probably have the ball
that's what I'm saying, to generate more shots for himself.
Yeah. No, but the tweet framed it as he wants to generate more shots for himself, that he wants the ball more, when the quote was, he was asked about, "Kyle, how can you generate more shots?" when he's like, "Well, I could have the ball more." Yeah.
I think
the quote after, "I'm not like that. I want to be unselfish and let the game come to me." That's the disconnect, because everyone's like, "Well, motherfucker, you shouldn't have the ball more." That's what everybody said on the timeline. And then obviously he's like, "I agree." Essentially.
The reason why I wanted him off ball is because I actually thought he'd get more shots. He'd get more uncontested shots also.
Which he should, if the ball would move.
Which he should. But I also think that, like, after watching, because it's a small sample size, as everybody likes to use, but reality is reality. After watching these first 4 games, he needs the ball because somebody needs to facilitate. And there's a difference between making the pass and facilitating. We're making the passes, but we're not facilitating as to where people are actually getting the ball where they need it.
It's not off
and
rotation.
That's a problem. No, and that's a problem. I for one came into the season saying I wanted him to shoot more. Like, you're open, you need to shoot. Like, this is just what it is. But then we also run into the problem that, whereas people don't want to admit, we're small as hell. So not only are we shooting, but now we're all trying to crash the boards at once.
3-4 people and still not getting it. And now we're getting run on.
So it's also like,
that's not a Spo thing either. That whole thing is weird, but we can get to that later.
Yeah. But the thing is that, like, you need Kyle to at least be up there in assists. Like, he should be having 7 or 8 a night. Like, he really should. But they're doing too much dinking with the basketball. We're doing things that, like, we see other teams do that we make fun of. We're doing a lot of my turn, your turn, which is not cute.
Yeah,
they're not.
We're hardly ever on the break. We're not running. We're not even getting into the secondary break most of the time. Like, we're literally doing things that we laugh at other teams about, which is not cute.
It's not. And it's really, they're not doing, I think the mismatch hunting on their part has been bad. I think for Kyle in particular, like, if you're going to get assists, it's going to be off, help and rotation. And he's not drawing help and he's not forcing rotation. I think part of that has been the opponents.
Right.
particularly the Celtics and the Raptors, who are going to switch and they're going to stay home on Max and Duncan or whoever's in that corner.
Right.
I think in particular those are a product of the matchup, and if he can't finish, which he could not over those guys, then that's what that's going to look like. And that was a winnable game. A lot there were forces at play, but that's a bad matchup I think for him. Similar, I think Boston's different, especially when you have guys like Horford in the game where you can kind of go at a drop. But he just, he looked good in that game.
Right. While we're talking about Kyle and like the guards and stuff, can you pull up those stats?
Yeah.
And talk about the stats that I had John pull up?
Yeah. So the second half has really been tough for the guards. The Kyle one he really stood out to me. So John got some numbers. John Jablanca, who writes for us, got some numbers, particularly the 3-point shooting. Like Kyle shooting 50% in the first half from three, and 7% in the second half. You know what I mean? And I think all their guards are really inconsistent. Like Gabe is really bad in the first half, 27 field goal percentage, 28 from three. And then in the second half, he's 40% from three and 56% from the field. Strus is another guy, 45% overall from the field in the first half, and then 44 in the second half. So he's pretty stable, the 3-point percentage too. And Herro, he's 51 from the field in the first half, 44 in the second, and the 3-point shooting goes from 35 to 30 in the second half. So particularly Herro, Kyle, are really kind of being worn down by the game, and Gabe is just not getting off to good starts. Probably a product of he's playing a lot with Dedmon and Highsmith, which is not really fun for him, because last year he was playing with better guys, or at least a better Dedmon and Caleb and usually one or two of the starters. So it's
Yeah, I think and we were talking about they just look tired. They look like they're getting worn down. And also like the bodies on our players. They're not letting us just drain to the basket. They're just not letting us run down the court. Everybody's getting a body at all times. And then I also feel like by the second half, the defense starts to key in on Tyler.
Yes. And not even just keying in on him, keying in on the way that he is playing, like hunting into his shots. And again, kind of this 6-man approach where I'm a scorer, and that is easily like locked in on, rather than kind of a mindset, I think, to get other people kind of going. Tiff, you talked about, wanting Kyle to be off the ball a bit. And I really do too. I like Kyle as a catch and shoot option. I don't want him to, I understand that he does facilitate for us. And there is a difference between making passes and facilitating. Sometimes I do feel like Kyle makes passes, but he does facilitate as well. But I wanted him off the ball a bit too. And again, I'm not trying to pile on Tyler, but he has the talent and he has enough versatility from a guard's stance to where he should be able to, and he's talked about it too, right? Like he's talked about his improved passing ability, the way that he sets Bam up. And so it can't just be setting Bam up, because Bam is probably the easiest one on the team to set up. You just throw that bitch near the rim and he probably is going to go get it. Tiff, you and I talked, and I want Tyler to kind of approach the game, especially when he's with the stars, especially when he's like with a Kyle. I want Tyler to take kind of like a Jimmy's approach, where much to the chagrin of a lot of Heat fans, where we feel like Jimmy waits too long to get himself going. Jimmy knows that he can do that because he's not having to try to give you 6-7 moves. I'm putting my head down, I'm intentional, and I'm going to get to my spots. Tyler can get to his spot. It looks differently than the way Jimmy does. But again, Tyler can get his offense and his shots up
anytime,
at any point of the game. That's just how skilled and how nimble he is with the ball. I tweeted it, like his snake dribble and him pushing it out and kind of like recapturing it. Those are really, really important skill sets and very important for someone like him to have, so he has it. I want the Tyler Kyle tandem to feel differently. Like I don't know, like I do want Kyle off the ball a bit, but I think you're right in just, you know, teams are able to key in on what it is that he's doing, and it's like something has to kind of change with that. And we were talking about the bench earlier, and I don't know. I want to go back and look at exactly what the lineup rotations have been, exactly what the substitution patterns have been, and kind of when they are. I know at the in the playoffs last season, Spo was doing the thing where he was subbing Jimmy out first so that the bench could have so that he could kind of ride with the bench. I feel like I want him to play with taking Tyler out first so that he can kind of I think I want Tyler and Caleb to be like the first two subs so they can get back to kind of running with the bench group, and that group can get back to having some offensive flow and some chemistry, and you're better able to withstand streaky, hot hand, I'm holding the ball, Tyler, rather than you're holding it, you're getting yourself going, but no one else kind of is. And I think that's some of what's happening in the second half of games.
The problem I
need Gabe to start better, but I also need him to I think, like you said, it's a lot of I'm playing with Dedmon and Gabe right now isn't an ISO, I'm going to break you down, dude. And Dedmon isn't dynamic enough out of pick and roll to where it's giving Gabe a whole bunch of options. I'm happy that Gabe has come on in the second half, but he's also played a lot of fourth quarter minutes. He's playing a lot more with the starters who are kind of getting some motion. I'm happy he's coming on in the second half. Everyone else and him starting and everyone else, it just, I don't know. There's a lot of tinkering that needs to be made. Tiff, we were on the phone earlier, and I was, you, me, Frankie, coming into the season, there was going to be a lot of tinkering and playing with stuff that had to happen. But at the end of the day, that tinkering needed to result in wins. You can tinker for maybe quarters 1 through 3, 2.5. At the end of the game, though, we have to come out with these wins so that, we can kind of feel good about the tinkering. Now it's feeling like at least DEFCON 3, where we don't even have the space to play with these pieces because we've fallen kind of so, and we're not in this crevice that we can't crawl out of, but it's much more than optimal where we kind of found ourselves, and just the way that it looks that we've gotten here.
Bond, you're not worried about if you put Herro more at the bench, now you're just playing Herro, Dedmon, and so it's a bunch of negative defenders with Caleb. That's my fear.
I think that's a fair point, but I feel like it looked a little bit like that last season. No,
we had Vic and Caleb was on the bench already, so and then it would usually be because it was Kyle, PJ.
I want Caleb and Tyler to sub out around the same time so that Caleb can help with some of that. But
Caleb was the only plus defender, there at the time. Because sometimes Kyle would also play with Tyler in the second unit.
But so doing that, though, so you allow Tyler to go back on ball and handle some. So now Gabe can kind of go back to being a catch and shoot option for the second unit, and he can kind of recommit himself and be more stout defensively. Not that he hasn't been. Your defense group probably is what would be shaky, but I think it stabilizes some.
Right. Well, and then the idea of that is if you bring out Tyler, then you put Max in. Yeah. And then you let Max be on the court with Jimmy, where it seems like that's his best pairing is when he plays off Jimmy.
Yeah.
I think they're 2 guys short right now. They're
no, they are.
They're 2.5 guys short, really. But they need a backup 5, which, by the way, backup 5s grow on trees by the buyout day. There will fill that spot.
Yo, I don't care if you bring in Dwight Howard. Just bring in somebody.
They'll bring in somebody who's going to be better than what they have, and I just think.
By
the way,
listen, I don't know.
I do it. Philly's had this problem for a very long time. They could not find minutes where they could sit Embiid, and it's not a disaster. I think Miami's been very fortunate that in reality they have not had like this backup 5 problem since LeBron was here.
And that's why I feel like Philly hasn't actually tried to. It hasn't felt like Philly
They've
has
tried dudes. They tried Drummond. They tried DeAndre
True.
Jordan. They tried that other kid that we made fun of. I don't remember his name. We've made fun of so many backup Sixer bigs. But like they'll try people. I think Miami.
Right.
I mean, listen, Tiff. You know, I think we want Michael Potter. You know, would have taken him.
Bring in Big Micah.
Guess who would have been playing big minutes?
Are you kidding me, dude? Harry Potter would have shut the garage down. This is Hogwarts.
Man,
he flew the car.
You know, the thing is, G, it's that it just doesn't look right. Like, for all the things that they're doing, even when they are playing well, quote unquote, during the game, it just doesn't look right. Like there's
Jimmy looks
something.
Right. They don't.
But as a yeah, but you know, I want to say they because it is it's the team.
It's them. Yeah.
They don't look right. And I think the thing about it is that the scary part is Spo can do whatever he wants to do with these lineups.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They got to, whatever changes they need to make, it looks like those changes are within.
He ain't suiting up.
Like
you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're going to have to figure it out because ain't nobody walking through that door to win.
At
January.
least January.
So
I mean, I need a big game soon. Like I just need to see what's in there. And I know and Leif made a good
He'll help.
He'll help. But Leif made a good point. He made a good point on Hot last night that he might help here and there, but his injury is one that requires persistent kind of attention to maintenance. And so he'll impact you, where he's there, but it won't be like a lasting enough impact because he may or may not be available.
I don't think he has to be like a scorer or anything. Just like I think for them,
no,
right now, and it's to kind of bring us full circle as we wrap up. It's what you guys said to start. Their calling card has to be defense. And the one thing I don't worry about him, one thing is whether he can get up. He's going to compete on defense. And Tiff, and I know you're gonna look, him and Gabe as a backcourt. You'll survive regular season nights. Yeah. Even with bad bigs or wings in the back, or if you're little, you'll be able to survive more minutes, and you can play with your lineups and get a little bit more out of here guy, there guy. You kind of, finagle who's your 4 at what time. If those guys can kind of produce on defense.
One thing to Vic, and I'm sorry, Tiff, and you don't even need him to score. And the thing that I was encouraged about in the game that he played that pissed me off immediately thereafter, he's still getting a step on guys. Yeah. He's still giving you rim pressure.
The burst is there.
Stopped at like the restricted area and gave me like 2 turnaround fadeaways. I'm like, what are we doing? What's happening here? Yeah. So you expect that the defense will still be, at least above average, but he's still giving you what it is that you bring in a Vic for to at least put pressure on defenses vertically. And now we're making better passes and we get guys moving. Then you get something that way. You don't need him. Yeah, you don't need him doing a whole bunch of catch and shoot.
They shouldn't ask him to.
Then they shouldn't ask him, right?
No,
they shouldn't. He's not here to do that.
Put it in his hand. Let him break the first shell or 2. Move it.
And also let him get out and run.
Some TJ McConnells, like those.
That's it.
Let him run.
Let him play defense. Let him get in the open court with the ball. He makes good decisions in the open court.
Smart player.
You need those little things that you know what it is, because it's obvious he was in pain during the playoffs. He wasn't 100%. So we know that now. It's fine. We can say it. The pain he has today is the pain he had in the playoffs, because it is what it is. Remember, he favored that one leg for all 2 years? He's been really working with one leg for 2 years. So that pain's been there. Let's be realistic. But what he did on defense on one leg is better than 90% of the guys we got.
It's better than a lot of guys in the league.
Exactly. So if he can give you some stout defense,
Tiff,
put a little pressure on the rim.
Not even stout defense. Just survive. You just gotta be there and survive to let your best players take you home in a season where, and we don't have to litigate this too much. As of they're currently constructed, second round out's probably the ceiling, bearing a move in the deadline, right? That's fine. But they just need to survive until they can figure some stuff out.
And even some of his defensive stops in the playoffs, they were, so he had in what's been circulating as some of his like steals and clips from that Celtic series, there were maybe, let's say if there were 10 possessions there were maybe 4 possessions of him getting clean, just him strips. But what you're saying, G, is like be survivable. And the overwhelming majority of that was him just being quick and heady enough to know how to position his body so that other people around him could dig effectively. We're not even getting that part. Like people are able to kind of just be blown by to the point to where help is not even able to serve as help. Or when it is, it's so overcompensated, and now I'm just getting kicked back out and it's getting moved on.
There's a lot of basketball to be played. There's a lot of season to be had, and there's a lot that we will continually get into as this season. This is 35th season of Heat basketball and 10th season of Miami Heat Beat unfolds. Thank you so much to chat. Shout out to everybody at 5 Reasons who tuned in yesterday to Hangover Time. Remember, Hangover Time is once a week now, and I will be doing post-game shows during the weekdays. I'll be with you tomorrow and Thursday for the Warrior game, and I'm not planning on doing weekend games, so unless it's a big name. So stay on the lookout for that. Hangover Time returns November 1st against the Golden State Warriors, so be on the lookout for that. Mark it on your calendars, all that good stuff, and we'll see you guys for pre-gaming tomorrow. Kenny and Frankie on the mic. We love the new pregame show. I think they're doing a fantastic job.
Is that when the game is? We play tomorrow?
They play tomorrow at 10 p.m., baby.
Blazers, right?
It's Kings or Blazers. Somebody far away.
Okay.
Girl, it's Blazers. Yeah.
Blazers. Oh, wow. The undefeated Portland Trail Blazers.
Listen.
What a shitty start to the season. Now they get a nice long road trip. It's my guy, dude. Listen. I didn't pick him in fantasy. Tiff, you told me to pick him up in fantasy. I didn't do it.
I told you.
You told me. I picked up Fred VanVleet. I should have listened to Tiff. I'm never not listening to Tiff again.
You could have, and this is no shade to Fred. No shade to Fred.
No, I actually
had Dame.
I picked Devin Booker over him, but the Fred punchline was funnier. But, regardless, I still have to pick Book, which I felt disgusting. Shout out to chat. Shout out to everybody, all our friends at 5 Reasons, all that good stuff. See you tomorrow.